Brian Fritz here with Zack Sabre Jr., one of the participants in the Cruiserweight Classic as we sit here at the Performance Center for WWE. So tell me about what it was like to get the invite to be a part of the Cruiserweight Classic.
Well, I think it was just it's exciting to hear that this concept was even going to be, something that existed.
Yeah.
So obviously that kind of you hear that and okay, so that's quite a exciting concept for them. And then when you're invited to be part of it, obviously the minute it was announced, that was something that I'm thinking in my head. I really want to be part of that, but you don't have expectations, obviously, because you don't know what to expect. Because
it's something that's so different from a WWE perspective that they've never done anything like this. To see the way that WWE has kind of evolved, especially the last couple of years, to have opportunities like this and to be able to do a Cruiserweight tournament, it's got to be exciting not only for fans, but especially for the talent to wonder what could be next.
100%. I think it's very bold for a company, understandably, that would just use contracted talent. So to then open yourself up, not to just a kind of few outsiders, but essentially 32, freelance guys from all over the world. I think they deserve a lot of credit for kind of giving this kind of concept and idea a go.
So what's it like for you coming into this tournament as one of the better known wrestlers around the world, and especially to, I know you haven't wrestled at Full Sail before, but at the same time, there are plenty of people that know who you are, and you immediately get a reaction. So what's that like to know that there is this audience that already knows who you are coming into this?
I was pleasantly surprised with the reaction. Obviously, I know that some kind of diehard fans are going to know who I am, but I went in kind of open-minded for the first taping at Full Sail, so I was kind of blown away that I got such a good reception. But also, I kind of think everyone, most people involved in this tournament, it's kind of, we're so happy for you to be involved. But kind of everyone that I speak to about it is, you better win this tournament. You better win this tournament.
No pressure, no pressure.
There's no kind of just like pat on the back participation award, like, it's the taking part that counts. Yeah, so I've got the added pressure of trying to win this, the biggest thing I've been involved in my career. So no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure at all. So what's it like when somebody talks about you and says Zack Sabre Jr. is the best technical wrestler in the world? What's your reaction?
Well, I think wrestling's objective, isn't it? And I think I'm very lucky that my fans feel incredibly passionate about what I do. But I think there's you can't. I don't think you can really label someone in such a specific area as the best. But I find it very complimentary. But also I kind of don't think about it too much. Because the goal is just to be, the absolute best I can be. But I think it's nice after kind of wrestling for 10 years. It is nice for kind of an accolade like that as such. But then I'm not just walking around just thinking like, I'm the best technical wrestler in the world. I've done it. So
well, you're not doing that. You're not going into the locker room saying, "Hey guys, I'm the best technical wrestler in the world."
Go grocery shopping and just hi, where are the bananas? I'm the best technical wrestler in the world. Yeah, no, I haven't quite.
Yeah, and I'm sure you shop in your jacket as well.
Of course, yeah. I've got another option just in case people can't figure out from my accent that I'm from Britain. I just make sure it's very subtle. I mean, I try to keep things very very low key. So just mainly masquerading around in the supermarket in my jacket, telling everyone I'm apparently the best technical wrestler in the world. Yeah.
So what attracted you to that style, to where you do it to this day, in that technical wrestling is your forte, and it's something that you've always been known for. So what was it about that style that said that's what I want to focus on in my career?
I think for me that was really kind of the aspect of wrestling that I found mesmerizing. Obviously, wrestling is just such an incredibly over the top and like varied show. So for a lot of people, it's kind of that. But I just remember being blown away by just the intricacy of kind of technical wrestling and submission wrestling and the art of wrestling and the subtlety and nuances and that kind of all of that kind of approach to wrestling. For me personally, that was kind of what I really enjoyed watching. So kind of just naturally, as I got involved in wrestling, that was just how I wanted to kind of portray myself. But really, it's just how I'm most passionate about wrestling.
And it's funny because I saw Daniel Bryan on the Bracketology show setting up this tournament, and he was talking about you, and he said, basically, you practice, I believe he said, escapology, in that you're not looking to pound your way out, so you're looking to find a way to escape something, to find a smart maneuver, to kind of put yourself in a position where you can, get out of a hold and put somebody else in the hold, and the intricacies that go with that. So what's that like for you, when it comes to the thinking game of being a wrestler and just all of the different things that go into that?
Yeah, I think obviously escapology, is kind of Johnny Saint and a lot of kind of the approach of British wrestling. But yeah, I think that's the real. I mean, for me, that's one of the things that I'm most passionate about, and that's the real art, for want of a better term, in that it's from within and trying to outdo myself. So obviously, there's shortcuts and ways out of holds, or really kind of aggressively fighting, but there's an intricacy and just I don't know, that's the aspect that I find mesmerizing, and that I'm always trying to take it further with that. I think trying to kind of engage people in watching what I'm doing from a different perspective.
So what kind of effect did guys like Johnny Saint have on you, and even a guy like Robbie Brookside, who's actually here as a trainer when it comes to NXT, and what kind of advice have they given you? And what have you ever like picked their brains and said, "Hey, let's talk about this," and give me some advice or anything like that?
Oh, as much as possible. I mean, I was very lucky that I saw Robbie Brookside on live shows in the UK growing up, and Steve Gray and Johnny Kidd, and we were lucky that there was still kind of a lot of figureheads from the World of Sport era still around, and enough that I could really kind of interact with them a little bit. Obviously, never as much as you'd dream for, but I would always, if I saw them at a show, bother them and get kind of advice and things out of them. But I think it's just taking a different approach to wrestling, and that era of wrestling had such a strong identity and a different way of doing it. Obviously, a lot of it does get lost, and even as much as I try to model myself and kind of be influenced by that, I'm still kind of a generation missed from that. So I think it's just about getting tips and tricks and advice that like I would have not picked up on, because there's only so much you can do without being in that environment.
Did you get an opportunity to meet William Regal before you came here?
I'd met him briefly in January at an Evolve show.
Yeah.
When we were in Orlando, actually.
Yep.
So that was the first time.
What was that like?
Obviously, just a lifelong fan, and I know that knowing that he's so passionate about all wrestling, but especially about British wrestling, and then that's something that I adore so much. So, I mean, I like this whole week. And then when we were first here as well, basically anytime he's around, I'm just shadowing him around and just asking him questions. Tell me about so and so. Tell me about so and so. Just like a kid. So yeah, I don't compose myself very well.
That's good to do though. It's funny because you talk about that Evolve show in Orlando. You guys are backstage, and there's Robbie walking around, there's William Regal walking around, and there's Triple H walking around. So what's that like for you to see those guys and actually see, being a part of Evolve and seeing that partnership continue to grow with WWE and see everything and see the other talent, the people that you have access to?
I think that's a testament that these kind of relationships that WWE are creating aren't just kind of PR, PR moments that's real. Like you said, that we're back there, and these people that have such a wealth of knowledge and advice, that they're accessible for us at all these opportunities. So I think it just creates such a great, I just think like a positive environment. I think that's what that creates for wrestling. Obviously, we're all just trying to better ourselves and become as good as we possibly can. So then to have the tools that you need to do that right in arm's reach is phenomenal.
So when you saw the field come out for the Cruiserweight tournament, was there any guys in particular that you were excited about that either you hadn't worked with or you had before and you always enjoyed being in the ring with?
Well, I think obviously I'd been concentrating on Japan a lot recently, so there's a lot of names. It's only kind of recently that I've dipped my toe kind of in the American Indies. So when I saw the whole lineup, I was obviously very excited for all of it. But to have a couple of fellow Brits in the tournament, I know it seems like the obvious answer, but that we're all kind of more towards the kind of ground and technical game. I think with kind of British wrestling, kind of having its own identity, but then kind of as things have progressed, and obviously American wrestling's been so huge in wrestling, so I think it feels great to kind of be part of a kind of modern representation of British wrestling. So I think to have the chance to wrestle with Noam, someone who I met when he was 14 in Scotland, so someone I've been travelling and friends with for a long time, and then someone like Jack, who I have such a admiration for his style, and I think that if we got the chance on a WWE stage to showcase the British style, that'd be phenomenal. But so many people. I mean, Gargano and Ciampa, Gulak, Cedric. These are all people that I've kind of met in the Indies, but obviously it's such a different. It becomes so much more important when you've got when we're involved in the Cruiserweight Classic.
Yeah.
Kota Ibushi, I've never wrestled, so that's been.
That's a potential final matchup. You know that, right?
Is actually logistically possible as a potential.
Yes.
Fine. Okay. So yeah, I've got to get through. Well, I've got to go through the next round first. But
No pressure again.
yeah, again, no pressure. But I think that'd be quite a nice touch if I finally wrestle with Ibushi in the middle of a WWE ring.
And also, too, when it comes to this tournament, I think one of the things that makes it so unique is not just only having so many different guys with so many different styles, but the presentation. They are treating this like a sport. I mean, you guys had to go through weigh-ins and everything. So what's that like for you as somebody that appreciates, wrestling as a sport?
I think everyone's going to be absolutely blown away by the production, the presentation for it. Obviously, you have high expectations of WWE, but that this is going to have such a unique approach to it, and I think it's going to be such a nice compliment for the way that these guys wrestle in the tournament. And not only have they given them kind of such an open platform for that, but I think the way that the show's going to be presented couldn't be more beneficial for this kind of idea.
Now, when you talk about this tournament, so you've also got another big tournament coming up later this year, PWG, with the Battle of Los Angeles. In that field, looks incredible as well. So what's that going to be like going into that and going in, no pressure, as a defending champion?
Yeah, I know. Finally won. I won the tournament, and then I've got the belt. So then I've got to try and do both at the same time, with the Cruiserweight Classic in mind too. I like pressure. I think you can't. Once you start to kind of climb up with a little bit of success, I think it kind of going backwards is only going to kind of demotivate you. So, yeah, I think I need the pressure. But
did you ever think about, from a standpoint of, look at all the different guys I get an opportunity to work with in the Cruiserweight Classic, and then all the different guys I get to work with again, or I haven't worked with yet when it comes to Battle of Los Angeles? I mean, even just over the next few months, it's going to be kind of this whirlwind of all these different guys and different styles. And you're talking about people that are the top in-ring performers in the world, and you have an opportunity to be in the ring with a lot of them.
And I think the best thing about these tournaments, or any tournament with such a high level of talent, is that that's only going to push and drive. I mean, all of us, but especially me, the way that I think, it's only going to push me to want to perform even higher, because you've obviously got, everyone is trying to make the best possible impression, and it's just such a plethora of guys that I wouldn't come across usually. So yeah. Very excited.
Tell me about what it was like. I think it was 8 years ago. What group was it? Was it that you wrestled Daniel Bryan in? You guys had a series of matches?
We wrestled once in Coventry for just a small company called Triple X Wrestling.
That's what it was. Yeah.
And then we had a bout in WXW in Germany, who I've wrestled for a lot over the years. So
that must have been a heck of an opportunity then, just because, I mean, there was so much talk about Daniel, so much talk about you at the time, and to get those opportunities and see him now a part of this tournament as well. I mean, unfortunately, he's not going to be in the ring, but he's going to be up there as part of the commentary.
Well, Daniel Bryan was someone that I admired, from the get-go, as soon as I kind of discovered him on grainy VHS tapes when I first started training. But obviously, everything about him as a wrestler was something that I admired. And really, I think the turning point for my career was when I wrestled him. I mean, it was only kind of in a small pub in front of 80 people in the middle of England. So it was just a kind of, just a stopgap match for him, I'm sure. But that was like a real turning point for me, and that being in the ring with someone of that level, who just knew everything that he needed to do in the ring and moved and conducted himself in such a way. And then, also his personality and approach kind of out of the ring too. So that was a hugely, hugely important part of my career, for someone that I'd admired so much and then was able to learn so much from in just one match. And then we kind of did it, I think, kind of 6 months or so later, the next year, in front of a German crowd that was kind of starting to get behind me too. And then he was able to kind of take that to the next step of showing me. So after those 2 matches with Brian, I really kind of changed the way I thought about what I wanted to be as a wrestler.
And you've been living in Japan for 4 years in training over there. What went into that decision, and to not only move there and train there, but to stay there for as long as you have?
Well, when I first started really kind of exploring wrestling, I started training at 14, and there was a lot of young trainees at the school, and everyone kind of had different videotapes of kind of international wrestling. But it was really like I'd seen Japanese wrestlers on American TV, but I'd not seen any straight up Japanese wrestling. And as soon as I kind of watched some full shows of New Japan and kind of Battle Arts and these other kind of companies, that just just mesmerized me. And like we were saying, obviously wrestling should be entertainment, and like it always should be. But I think the presentation of the way that they did it in Japan, with its kind of press conferences and very much kind of in the confines of a sports presentation, so that was something that I instantly fell in love with. And then when I started to learn more about the dojo system and the way that they kind of thought about and did training, and then the kind of also the kind of Japanese social class system with kind of the senpai and kyohai and the kind of hierarchy. So all of that kind of just was something that I just wanted to aspire for. So not only was it kind of wrestling in Japan, but it was also Japanese life and Japanese culture. So I didn't just kind of want to tick off on a box like, right, I've wrestled in Japan. Like I really wanted to move to Japan and live in Japan. And there was the wrestling side, it was absolutely phenomenal. But to live in Japan and travel all over the country and see things that I would never have seen otherwise, just it's such a beautiful culture and country that it made the wrestling experience even more accentuated for me.
So as you've been coming to the United States more and more, what's it like for you to experience the culture here? What do you think of the U.S.?
I think everyone's so friendly in the States. I think that's I think we kind of relish in enjoying being kind of miserable in Britain, but just that everyone's so friendly. Obviously, it's just such a huge country, and I always make a point of kind of looking out the window on the plane, because kind of if I fly from London to LA and we're kind of going over all of America, it makes you kind of try and take in how much of a large country it is. But for me as well, like just the receptions from the crowds all over, like I've really been blown away since kind of concentrating more on the independent companies over here. But I keep saying positive, but it just feels like it's such a positive period for pro wrestling, and that on every level, and that fans who just come in to just lose themselves in the shows.
So how often do you get the question from fans that say, so when are you going to go to NXT? When are you going to go to WWE?
Yeah, they are. But I think fans there's a list of kind of questions that they'll always come up, but that is starting to come up, and I think it's natural because NXT is one of the most exciting things in pro wrestling right now by far. But I only really concentrate on one step ahead, really. So I kind of feel I'm just kind of thinking, right, got the PWG Championship. Now now I've got that role, or trying to kind of as much as I can be a part of the UK scene and European scene. So,
but seeing it, up close and personal, being a part of it, even for the Cruiserweight Classic, and kind of seeing behind the scenes how everything operates, does it make you think a little bit differently about that, about whether it's now or in the future or whatever, about a possible opportunity to come here?
Well, I think, it's definitely, it's been more of a conscious thought process recently, but obviously when you see the operation in person, obviously like it's, incredibly impressive. It feels a bit like a cliche, I'm sure everyone says it, but the facility here is phenomenal, and just the attention to detail and the way that the company approaches producing wrestling, is very appealing.
Do Robbie or William Regal ever get in your ear and say, you know what, whenever you want to come, I'll take care of you. We got a spot for you. You're going to be great here.
We're just, I'm just concentrating on the Cruiserweight Classic right now. Yeah.
Last thing, you're not wearing any of your suplex gear right now. I'm very disappointed. You should be wearing your suplex. That's not true. You got your shorts. Okay, I didn't see that.
Yeah. So I've already sweat through a suplex shirt today. So I've got my this was my senpai in Japan, Yoshinari Ogawa. So
I wanted to make sure you got that in, because you got a little bit of you work with suplex and the gear there and everything. So what's that been like for you? Because everybody needs their merchandise and get their stuff out.
Well, I think more. It's being part of a team, so we really try. Suplex really tries to kind of promote itself as a team. So it's not just kind of kind of giving us a few free T-shirts and kind of flogging it and just trying to make a quick buck, for want of a better expression. Like, we're really trying to showcase wrestling for the athletic side of it. So,
and you guys are really building a brand that people know about.
A brand, 100%, and it's definitely more than just kind of a company putting a logo on a t-shirt. We're trying to build a brand and a team, and also have a real kind of try to make people proud to wear something wrestling related. I think for a long time in wrestling, there's been a stigma like people don't want, it's a wrestling shirt, I don't want to wear that. But I think if you look at a Suplex track jacket or our hoodies or gym shorts or all the things, I think they're just very very clean. They're very modern, and we try to make it something that people can be proud to wear, so they can kind of acknowledge like I'm wrestling. Yeah, this is wrestling. What's that? What's that? No, it's Suplex wrestling, but without kind of being embarrassed.
That traditional wrestling style that we've seen.
But I think in general, everyone's approach to merchandising is far better, and we shouldn't be ashamed about being wrestling, but people do get a bit embarrassed sometimes. So I think for me, that was one of the main things that appealed to Suplex. Like we just want to present wrestling just as something that it is like wrestling's incredible. It's something exciting, cool, and I think people are starting to kind of like catch on about that much more now. Yeah.
Well, best of luck going forward with the tournament. No pressure whatsoever. No pressure.
So I can just go out in the first round and I just get a pat on the back as I land back in England and everyone will just be happy. Yeah, like it's taking part that counts.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on the success, and I look forward to seeing, especially this year and going forward with your career. Thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.